Hello there, it's Andy Parks from the Washington Times. The president has found his core audience, preschoolers and elementary school kids. Panic in Virginia politics, you bet. Those stories and more on the way. But first, as a listener to my podcast, you qualify to receive a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. And all you have to do is go to washingtontimes.com/Andy. That's washingtontimes.com/ANDY. All right, welcome to another edition of my review of the news. Yes, a serious and sometimes not so serious look at what's been happening. Let's start with President Joe Biden. Why not? By the way, it still drives me crazy to call him President Joe Biden. He went to an elementary school in New Jersey, a crowd that he obviously feels safe with, and proceeded to tell the kids that part of his job is to avoid the press.
You know, when you're president, see all these people here? They're with you all the time. They get to ask you all kinds of questions, and you try to figure out how you can avoid answering them sometimes.
Yeah, that's some funny stuff, isn't it? Joe also told his Amtrak story again, for the 5th time this year. He blamed Trump for the supply chain breakdown because a bad thing is never a Democrat's fault. They simply blame someone else. Oh, and the guy in charge of taking care of the breakdown, rather than fix the problem, has spent his time this past week trying to shoot the messenger, Tucker Carlson. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg took to the Sunday shows to defend his maternity leave and saying it has brought the issue of parental leave to the table. Why not? The heck with you and me not being able to get our groceries and other items and paying higher prices. It's all about him, the Transportation Secretary that knows nothing about transportation. But back to Joe Biden. He now has proposed a billionaires tax because someone has to pay for the $3 trillion Democrat spending bill with a zero cost factor.
It's going to be zero.
Now, just how does that work? Well, here's the way it was described to me. A separate 3% tax would be applied to billionaires, which actually could entrap others along the way, and it probably will. Example, if you make over $100 million a year for 3 years, you're also subjected to the tax. Now really look into how it will be handed down to the people with 401ks or other investments, and we've got a problem. The very wealthy can tax defer some of their money by investing. These same individuals, through their investing, tend to prop up the market, if you will. Take them out of the equation, and the market drops. The drop means everyday Americans could ultimately feel the crunch of the pullout of the large investors. Think about it. If the government's going to take away your profits on your money, why go through the investment process? They'll just put the money in banks. Some in America, some not in America. But it doesn't matter to Joe. He wants their cash right now. Less than a week away from the Virginia gubernatorial election, once heavily favored Democrat Terry McAuliffe is now neck and neck with Republican challenger Glenn Youngkin. Missteps by McAuliffe have reduced his standing among so many Virginians, he had to call in the elite, if you want to call them that, Joe Biden and Barack Obama. I got to tell you, I watched the Obama speech to the Adoring Hope and Change crowd, and he was his normal smug self. Like McAuliffe, he also sided with the school boards having control over your kids and blew off the rape of a young girl in a Loudoun County school. He called it fake outrage and a trumped-up issue. Now, this did not sit kindly with many Virginians, and they've referred to Obama as tone-deaf and clueless. And he is. You know, if it gets any worse for McAuliffe, you may see him handing out additional ballots at the polling places. We'll see what happens on November 2nd. This just in, blaming the cops and defunding their departments doesn't seem to be working. Really? Yeah, but that didn't stop Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota from doubling down and saying the 17% spike in crime and a through-the-roof murder rate is the fault of the cops. And by the way, they failed to perform their job duties. What is On Mars talking about? Did I say On Mars? Yes, she is. She says the cops are the bad guys and then says they're not performing their duty. This woman is crazy. It was a rough week for actor Alec Baldwin, but even tougher for the family of slain cinematographer Galena Hutchins on the set of the new Baldwin-produced movie. Baldwin, who has been outspoken about gun rights, attacks the NRA and gun rights groups regularly, broke the #1 rule of gun safety. Don't ever aim at another human, even if you think it's safe. #2, you as an individual, as the individual holding the gun, has an obligation to see if it's loaded. I wonder how the Hollywood liberal crowd will handle this one. By the way, I heard that Gloria Allred is now involved in the case against Baldwin, and the dollar signs are flying. Senator Rand Paul wants Dr. Frankenstein Fauci fired again. Fauci is worthless. I mean, he claims he follows science, but when the science doesn't match up to what he wants, he changes it. No big deal. He's a Democrat. Remember, Democrats don't play by the same set of rules. But the libs love Fauci and defend him, like Democrat CNN anchor Breonna Keller, who said she will not apologize for calling Senator Rand Paul an ass on CNN a few months back.
Nothing brings out Senator Paul's propensity to act like an ass, like a congressional appearance by Fauci, and that is really saying something.
Yes, it is. It's saying that you're not a journalist, despite what you think. Journalism of 2021 is sure a different duck. Then, of course, the higher-ups at these networks can't figure out why people are not watching. Duh. And finally this week, speaking of CNN, whatever happened to the Chris Cuomo sexual harassment problem? He's been strangely quiet about it, and the network brass is brushing it off as if nothing ever happened. Cuomo's accuser, his former boss at ABC, Shelley Ross, has asked him to journalistically repent for his behavior by using his show to discuss gender and workplace discrimination issues. Nothing from Cuomo. Now you know, if Chris Cuomo were a Republican, he would have been dragged out of town and tossed into the bin that's labeled, "He'll never work again." But it's good to be a Democrat. That'll do it. Thanks for joining me today, and remember to receive a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. Go to washingtontimes.com/Andy. You'll get 24/7 digital access to the Washington Times at 50% off. Again, go to washingtontimes.com/ANDY. I'm Andy Parks. Have a great day.